presumption of innocence, and it is the responsibility of the prosecution to prove his guilt beyond every reasonable doubt. He has no obligation to prove his innocence. So, if you watch, when I was Deputy Attorney General, Minister of Interior, I scarcely gave press interviews about people's cases because it's not only unethical, it's unfair. And a reputation one destroyed is difficult to retrieve even when you are acquitted. I think that the question you have asked me, I hope the Ghana Journalists Association is taking note. They are a credible professional organization. I'm a lawyer. I'm telling you what we lawyers think about it. I cannot decide for the Association of Journalists. I think that that matter will have to be taken with them because the integrity of everybody is important. My office, I can assure you, will try to protect the people we are investigating until we decide we are going to make a charge and charge the fellow. But you see, we are dealing with Law 959, and if you look at it, Parliament decided that the reports should be submitted periodically. When I read it, what is the nature of the report? And when you submit a public report, what happens to the people being investigated? Will it be my office which will be leaking it? Or by complying with law, people who are being investigated are leaked? These are some of the issues we have to think about and see how best we can handle it. But I can assure you that I disagree with people being investigated before they are put to trial, being tried in the press. It is, I believe, unconstitutional.
Mr. Chairman, this is my third question. We have the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. We have the Auditor General and Public Accounts Committee of Parliament. We have the AG itself, the Attorney General, and we have several other laws that seek to fight corruption. In spite of all this, the perception of the average Ghanaian is that we have not succeeded in our fight against corruption. In fact, if there's anything, the view is that corruption is going higher and higher. That's why the President's call to set up a special prosecutor was widely hailed and widely supported. Your nomination was widely supported because the people of Ghana believe, as you rightly stated, that if we were to even cut corruption by half, a lot of the little things that we need to do and we're not getting the resources, we can do them. What are you going to do differently that these bodies have failed and you believe you can succeed?
Well, as I have said, my track record since 1982 is well known that I'm not the one who chooses victims. Anybody who is caught in the net is dealt with. That itself, if I'm approved, serves as a warning to perpetrators of the offense or people who want to perpetrate it, that you better be careful, otherwise you'll be hauled. I have expressed my own doubts whether we will succeed. But I think that if you establish a credible institution with a credible culture, you can reduce corruption significantly. If you establish a credible institution that does not take political instructions in cases, but acts in accordance with the true spirit of the law, the true prosecutorial spirit of dealing with citizens as citizens and only prosecuting them when they have breached the law and it's in the national interest to do so, then many people will stop or reduce their ability to be corrupt. In fact, I had said that I had quoted Linda Ofodikwafu, who even said that if the president failed in dealing away with corruption, Ghana will die. And I said that I don't think Ghana will die as such, but that the revolution of the fight against corruption may have to await another revolution. Because if we don't stop this canker, and we think we can go away with it, people have used it as a ground to destabilize this country in the past. I'm saying that let's stop it before any opportunist would use it.
I think Honorable Hello has asked this question. But for record's sake, I will ask you a similar one. Before your name was brought to the people of Ghana and made public, there were those who had every belief that the president was going to nominate a party loyalist to occupy the position you are occupying now. And in fact, as far as they were concerned, that person was never going to be able to perform effectively and efficiently. Of course, you were a party person, and not just a party person, you were once a vice presidential candidate for a political party. There are people both in the NDC and the MPP who believe that they are not comfortable with you. I want you to look in their face and assure such people that you will do your work with a fear or favor,
malice or ill will.
With a malice or ill will. Remote links. You are deep rooted in the political party, the NDC party. So how are you going to assure those who were saying that don't appoint a party loyalist, don't appoint somebody who is a top politician in a political party?
It's not. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, let me make this prologue. I was invited to meet the president. I did not know what we were going to discuss. And if anybody had told me that I was going to a meeting in which I would end up accepting to be a special prosecutor, I would have sworn that it's not possible. And when I was writing all these things, I did not consider myself as doing it. And as I said, in 1999, I was nominated to the Supreme Court. I declined it. But you see, when we spoke as honorable men, realizing his commitment, I thought that if we fought corruption all this time, to refuse it, if Ghanaians heard it, will think that then why have you been doing all these things all these years? Right. And I'm saying that any prosecutor who chooses victims because he doesn't like them is not a prosecutor. A prosecutor who lives by the taught tradition of the law will prosecute only serious criminals. And he will do so with a reference to political correlation. And indeed, a prosecutor is not allowed to allow himself to be played politics with. Indeed, read Jackson, Robert Jackson, former Attorney General of the United States and later on Supreme Court Justice. He was one of the prosecutors at the Nuremberg Tribunal. He's written fantastically about prosecutors. The duty of the prosecutors is to do service to the community by making sure crime is reduced. And what I am going to do is to make sure that if the docket, and I'm not going to even do the investigation, I may not even do the prosecution. Independent people qualified will bring the docket, or they may not even bring it to me if I've delegated the function. But if the docket comes and is waiting for prosecution, it doesn't matter where you come from. You'll be prosecuted. And I'm saying that politics will not come into it. That I can assure anybody. But you see, what our advice is that the radio, the internet, many people make confessions on them without knowing. They think they're exercising freedom of speech. But you see, you confess, and then you get into the Inyaba situation. And when you do that, you don't blame the public prosecutor. Inyaba was a boy who went to Accra Academy. His father kept money under his bed because he couldn't send it to a bank. The boy had his birthday. He went and picked one envelope and sent his friends to a restaurant, and they ate. When the father came, money was missing. Instead of him to keep quiet, he went to the police station and reported the boy. Right? Then the boy wrote, yes, my father had a slash of money under his bed. I saw it and took it. That is the Inyaba situation. You know? So if you don't go to the police won't pursue you. If you don't talk on the air and said, I did this and this man is not rewarding me even though I funded him, under section 129, to fund the potential presidential candidate in anticipation that he will give you a job, is corruption. Read the law. But see, you say it on radio, confess your sins. And then when the special prosecutor says, come in, yes. So I'm saying that let's be careful what we say in radio. You see? Let's be careful.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate the nominee for his spirited public service, which he started at a young age of 31. I'm sure it will be an inspiration to many young people. If at 31 he caught the eye of the leader of the nation to appoint him, I'm sure it will be an inspiration. Congratulations for keeping that service to this country at a young age of 31 till today. Congratulations. Now, Mr. Chairman, because of the restrictions we have to work under, I have a number of questions. But before I ask the question, I wish to present to the nominee some few documents, and then I'll ask a question of him to speak to those documents. And with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'll want to give you copies of the documents.
What is it?
Yes. The first
if you're going to quote from it, unless it is challenged, you can quote from it.
No, I just want him to have it, you know, so that...
I have to see it, okay. And then... You can go straight and ask the questions. Then.
So the first one is a letter dated 18th January 2012 and signed Martin A.B.K. Amidu, entitled Letter of Apology. And this was to His Excellency Professor Evans Atta-Mills, President of the Republic of Ghana, Office of the President. I want the nominee to confirm, to look at it, and I'll ask the questions later so that he can speak to these documents. The second one is entitled Government Covert Agent. Anas lies gargantuanly to the whole world again, by Martin A.B.K. Amidu. And it's another document I will want him to speak to when I ask my question. And then the other one is Okujetwa Ablakwa is uncouth and uncultured in insulting elders by Martin A.B.K. Amidu. Now it's important, before the question, Mr. Chairman.
Member, proceed. Your question has been asked from these documents already, so they are not new. So please proceed with your question.
the commentary before, cut them and go straight to whichever question you want to ask from the document, please.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, the directive principles of state policy under Article 41 of the Constitution says that the exercise and enjoyment of rights and freedoms is inseparable from the performance of duties and obligations, and accordingly, it shall be the duty of every citizen. And my emphasis is on C, so I'll quote C, 41C, to foster national unity and live in harmony with others. Mr. Chairman, also, if you look at Section 13(1)(b) of the Office of Special Prosecutor, it talks about similar expectations of the person, to occupy this office. Now, in view of the requirements of the Constitution contained in Article 41C, I wish the nominee to examine the documents that I have referred to and comment honestly on the circumstances in a way to demonstrate that he has a capacity to meet this requirement of living in harmony with others.
Mr. Chairman, I will talk about this letter of apology. This letter of apology, if we had time, I would have produced documents to show how it was procured. This letter of apology was procured from me by the late Kofi Awono, an elder, a former chairman of Council of State. So you will see that at the end of it, I state, and I did that carefully, as it is customary, I have solicited the chairman of the Council of State and Captain Kojo Chikata, retired, as elders, to be kind enough to reiterate my apology to you on my behalf. They asked me to write this letter, and I have said it, Captain Chikata is alive, right? And when Alhaji Mama Idrisu called me and said they wanted this letter, I told him they could sack me. But when the two of them asked me to write this letter, the first letter didn't have Captain Chikata's name. My secretary, Perpetual Achana, who is still working, sent it to Kofi Awono's office. Then he added the Chikata, and when he brought it, the girl typed it and added it there. It was procured by the chairman of the Council of State, who said he was meeting the president that day, and that he and Captain were going to present it to him, and that they had had certain discussions. At the back of my mind, I knew that they were just looking for evidence of an apology and then to do what they wanted to. But my custom respects age. I've worked with these people since 82, right? So I gave them the letter. How come that a confidential letter delivered by the chairman of the Council of State to the president is now making the rounds? But I have already replied to this letter and stated what I'm telling you here today, that it was procured by me by two elders who convinced me that this was not a matter. Just give us the letter and we'll send it. So I wrote it. In any case, for me, I don't see anything wrong when a young person has had a misunderstanding with an elder, somebody who has been his friend for over 35 years, right? And who invites him, come and help me. And there's a breakdown of trust. Just one day, 13th, Mr. Bibaku Mensah said Bibaku Mensah is excellent, he's alive. Until the 13th, the president and myself had never had a problem. So if we had a problem, he's older than me. In Northern Custom, no young man is right. If I'm telling lies, tell me. Even when you are right, you meet elders, you apologize. When you go out, then they tell them, you were wrong. We just have to let him apologize. That is what this letter means. You are not now, you know that.
So, Chairman, does he accept responsibility for the letter and apology to which his signature is appended? I am saying that I wrote it I accept it under the conditions I wrote it, and Captain Chikata is alive. If I'm lying,
So the Captain Chikata is alive. He won't deny it. As for the other articles I had written,
Honorable, the main question he asked you was, looking at Article 41 and the requirements, it says that, are you able to say categorically that you can live with other people in harmony?
I have lived with decent people in harmony for 66 years. I cannot live in harmony with criminals. That I won't lie. I won't lie. But decent, respectable people who will not ask you to do this and then stab you in the back. Those are traitors. I can't live with them. But decent people, I will live with them. Criminals, I can't.
The Speaker, they were, sorry.
Chairman, no, just before he finishes, the Honorable Martin Amidu have held high office in Ghana of Attorney General. There is a letter of apology to which we have his signature as the responsible person. Now, reference to Captain Chikata, he's not before this committee. Reference to Honorable Kofi Awuno of blessed memory is not a reference we can go to. Is he responsible to this letter and its content?
I am saying, Mr. Chairman, that I wrote it under their persuasion. It's my signature. It's there. It's mine. But the circumstances under which they procured it is reprehensible.
Chairman, I'm raising this because as special prosecutor, we don't want to hear tomorrow that a certain letter signed by him as special prosecutor is procured somewhere. That's the reason. So I want to establish it. So please.
Mr. Chairman, I've said that this is my signature. And I've explained that nothing in this world can be taken out of context. And I've said that this is my signature. And I'm saying that the circumstances under which it was procured, it's not a circumstance in which I would ordinarily have written it. That's all I'm saying.
Mr. Chairman, if I'm allowed a follow-up because of just a quick one.
Please go on with your questions.
All right. Just, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I presented 3 documents, and I don't think the answer is enough for the other 2, because he said also in answer that he cannot live in harmony with
Honorable
people.
Member, you have asked one question, which he has answered. He's not done on
3 documents to speak to the 3.
Please.
Thank you.
He doesn't have to speak to documents. You may quote from them. You may ask questions relating to them. He chose to refer apology. Then your first question was whether he can live with harmony, reference the Constitution. Proceed with other questions. If you want to speak to any document, please do.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I thank you and I take your guidance. Thank you very much. I will proceed, but if you would permit me to just make an observation, then I'll proceed with the next question. With your permission, Mr. Chairman, please.
Please, observations are not permissible.
Okay.
Please ask a question.
So, are you, Honorable Nominee, suggesting to this committee then that the late Professor Mills, Anas Amiriao Anas, and Honorable Samuel Kujeto Ablakwa, per the articles I have shown you, were criminals, and that is why you haven't, or you were not in harmony with them, as evidence in these documents? Thank you.
I have never made any such suggestion. Nowhere.
All right, I will move on to 24 of the 1992 Constitution. Still deals with code of conduct for public officers. Now, Mr. Speaker, I refer precisely to Article 284, which reads, "A public officer shall not put himself in a position where his personal interest conflicts or is likely to conflict with the performance of the functions of his office." Unquote. Quote and unquote. Also, Mr. Chairman, the independence and impartiality of the office the nominee seeks for approval for is implicit in Clause 72A of the OSP Act 959, when in part it states that a member of the board shall not engage in conduct or an activity that may undermine the integrity, independence, and impartiality of the office. Mr. Chairman, answering questions here, the nominee has also talked about how he is expected to be impartial. Now, I make reference to an article the nominee wrote recently. It is entitled President John Mahama's Last Midnight Appointments, Contracts and Recruitments, and dated 21st December 2016. Now, I'll just quote portions and put my question. The Luther John Mahama government promised a smooth transition as though he had an option in the matter. The spin is in the blood of the Luther government, which loots and spins the plundering of the public purse for likes of Wyoming, Waterville, and others, and inflates contract prices to the detriment of the public purse. One would have thought that the massive defeat of the Luther government, never witnessed in the annals of Ghanaian history, will make it circumspect. And the last quotation, and in fact, if you read through this article, every reference to the NDC government at the time is qualified with Luther government. Ghana is worth dying for, and so fellow citizens, speak up and defend your 7th December votes by not allowing this Luther government to deliberately make it impossible. Mr. Chairman, the question is, by this posture that is demonstrable partiality, will the nominee consider himself an impartial candidate for this office, and will you not be compromising the independence and impartiality required of the holder of this office?
Chairman, at the time the nominee wrote that article, the nominee was a constitutional defense activist, and he wrote that article pursuant to Article 3, which even enjoins that if any action or activity may even lead to the abrogation or suspension of the Constitution, you are at liberty to even use arms and force to stop it. Right? So that's the context in which that letter must be looked at. And nobody can be accused when he is exercising his right as a citizen to defend the Constitution of partiality. I was defending the Constitution. I had to do it as robustly as I could. As special prosecutor, I have to exercise neutrality, and that's what I'm going to do. You know, we have politicians who have gone to the highest bench. They haven't exhibited politics in that bench. General secretaries of parties are now sitting there. They haven't exhibited any partiality. So why will I, a constitutional activist, defending the Constitution pursuant to Article 3, go and be biased when there's no crime? I mean, the whole world will see, lawyers will see that I am being biased. The law is not something you can take for a ride. It's a community where defense counsel, other lawyers reading it, will know that you are not acting well. And that is why even at the last bar conference, the Bar Association offered me the chance to be a guest speaker. Unfortunately, I was going to London. The community of Bar Association will never invite you as a guest speaker if you are a person who wantonly shows partiality as a lawyer. But as a constitutional defense advocate, I will have to be partial because I have to stop what I think is against the Constitution. And those are why the words are very strong. You see, and that's why I said Ghanaians should defend, because the Constitution says as citizens we should defend. So I was asking Ghanaians to exercise a constitutional right. You can't accuse me for undertaking my rights under the Constitution, unless you want to suppress my own political activity as prohibited by Article 3(2).
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Well taken. Now let's look at some legal rulings from our courts. And because you have been an active player in that field, I will seek your intelligent assessment of two situations. You challenged the decision of the state to pay judgment debt to Mr. Alfred Agbesiwoyomi because, in your view, the agreements under which the judgment debts were paid were unconstitutional for lack of ratification or approval by Parliament, therefore unenforceable. Now, why do you think in a similar case involving the Gitmo 2, the court directed the government to either return the two suspects or take the agreement to Parliament for ratification when the latter was not an option in the Wayomi case you took to court?
Let me be honest with you. The Wayomi case, I did the case and saw how the order of the court for refund was being hedged around all the time. So I can speak about that. This Gitmo 2, I've not even seen the judgment. Is it reported? Is it reported? I don't know. But I haven't seen it. And I will not comment on something I have not seen. You know.
Honorable Barbara, I see.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations, Mr. Martin Amidu. I am impressed looking at your background, from a very humble background, and I believe that young people are looking up to you, that irrespective of your background, the school that you attend, you can make it in life. So congratulations. Mr. Amidu, Mr. Chairman, can you share in all honesty the circumstances of you being asked to step aside as Attorney General by the then President, Professor John Evans Atta Mills, as some quarters are asserting that the ground for your dismissal is insubordination? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I can assure you that I was not dismissed for insubordination. Indeed, there is a consent judgment filed in the High Court which shows that the termination of my appointment was wrongful, and the government was ordered to pay me 1 month's. I agreed to it. I didn't want to pull this thing. So when they suggested 1 year's salary, I said, okay, it's all right. It's not the money I'm needing, it's the principle. So the whole idea about me being sacked and all that, there is a court judgment. And indeed, the government before it's left was pulling its legs from paying my benefits. And the present government, if they paid at the last end, before they even paid some of it, my interests are still piling. My official card since 2012, the court ordered it. It's still hanging there. But I'm following it. So anybody who gives the impression that I was dismissed for insubordination should go to the court and read the judgment and the terms of settlement. And there's a new Attorney General who should be able to make that available. So don't let us. And you see, let me say one thing. Professor Mills was a very close friend, and I was a very close confidant and advisor. And I'm saying that His Excellency Sir Bibaku Mensah, his secretary, and Colonel Lawson will tell you that there is no week he doesn't send for me specifically until the 13th, whom I don't know who asked him to call me and my brother's wife and put those questions to me. That's when I thought there was breach of trust. So I told him, I won't serve you again. I said it, that there's a breach of trust. You asked me to come as a friend. if you don't trust me again, I won't serve you again. You know, and then the issue went on. Go and come at 3 o'clock. I said, I will send my resignation letter the moment I get to my office. His Excellency said, Mensa speaks in Hausa. I'm your senior brother. Come back. So I come back. Captain Chikata comes, takes me into a room. How can we seniors be here? And you are leaving us and going. Go and collect the money. So I go to court on the 16th. That's how come this letter eventually came. And then on the 19th, they announced that they had terminated my appointment. Then somebody goes to say I was terminated for misconduct. So I went to court. That's the situation. Bibakun is alive. He was ambassador to the Vatican, right? He was there. Martin Mills was there. Betty Molde-Drusu was there. I was there. And Betty Molde's husband and myself continue talking. I have the emails here. Don't let us go there.
Thank you.
And
Don't go there again.
That is why I wrote a tribute when Prof died. It pained me he died. And now Adu will tell those of you who are doubting that Prof and me were very close. Even after the event, Prof told people what he thought about being pressured to let me go.
Barbara, yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Now the story is out.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. On the 4th day of December 2017, you wrote and posted on the internet an article. So sorry, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. On the 4th of December 2017, you wrote and posted on the internet an article entitled JoyNews Suspected Crimes and All the Missing Link. I hope you remember. Mr. Martin Amidu. What is the missing link in what you call the JoyNews crimes? And what do you intend doing about it when Parliament approves your nomination? Thank you very much.
Indeed, that article, my comrade, Kokubaku, we've been comrades since the revolutionary times. Even though he fell out with the revolution, I was still close to him. Kwesi Pratt and all those people. He raised the issue of the missing link, right? And then I wrote my article to support the missing link. Because as Attorney General, I had said that Woyome cannot be prosecuted alone, and that all his accomplices must be prosecuted. Indeed, when we met in my office on the 13th of January, the attorneys who are listening, unfortunately, Gertrude Akins, the DPP, is dead, but the other lawyers, and then Gezi and Co., who are listening, in the conference room, they all agreed that part of the fault is from this house. Right? So we said that.
Nominee, this house as in Parliament or?
No, the Attorney General's Department.
Very well.
So if we are going to prosecute, we should prosecute everybody involved and not Woyome alone. That was one of the reasons, why the Hundrums hounded me, so that they would not be prosecuted. So Woyome alone was prosecuted. And if you remember, in the judgment, the judge said that Woyome could not be prosecuted alone, and that those who acted with him were not brought. So Ajet Nasam, who was proved to be a corrupt judge later, acquitted Woyome. If I had prosecuted that case together with the accomplices, the result would be different. And my perception is that the prosecution was bungled to get that guy out. I mean, I was acting as Attorney General, and the facts are there, the files are there. I wasn't making it up myself. The lawyers are still in the Attorney General's department.
Yes,
so if I come into office and somebody comes to make a complaint and can substantiate it, that there was a residual offense, it is not me who is going to investigate it. It's not me who is going to prosecute it. If there is a strong case, why not? There's no statute of limitation to crime.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Amidu, I know you are very passionate fighting corruption. But do you think that as a country we'll be able to fight or eradicate corruption completely or from the system?
No, Madam. Mr. Chairman, corruption, President Kufuor told all of us that it started from Adam. It's even in the US, in Britain, in all those advanced countries, there's petty corruption, but the level and magnitude is the biggest problem. You see, during the PNDC, all of us were afraid because if you were a PNDC secretary and you were caught, you were for the gallows. So it didn't happen. You remember the first parliament, we bought them second-hand cars, and they accepted it. But you see, the situation has to be dealt with. It has to be dealt with. And that is why I'm saying the president, realizing that if he doesn't deal with it now, we will have a bigger problem, decided that, well, Martin, come and help do it. And I'm saying I'll do it fairly and impartially.
Honorable nominee, my attention has been drawn to some unparliamentary language, hoodlums.
I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Barbara, you're done now.
Last one.
Well, I usually allow follow-ups.
Follow-up.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Amidu, I know the president is very confident. His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo is very confident that you'll be able to deliver. I want to know from you what legacy you'd want to leave and you would be remembered for. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, let me be very humble to tell you that I accepted the nomination to try. I didn't accept the nomination on the grounds that I will succeed. I accepted to try. And that's what I'm going to do. Because I'm just one person. My deputies' integrity and honesty will be important. The integrity and honesty of my staff will be important. They are going to be adults I didn't give birth to. They would have had several socializations I didn't take part to, as Honorable Minority Leader, as a sociologist knows. But I'm going to try to work with them, and because of my example leadership, hoping that they will all let us work as a team in the honest spirit of achieving something. I think that...
Chairman, I've heard the nominee acknowledge that he'll be working through a board. I've heard your deputy, your staff. What about your board?
The board that will be matters of policy, but they will not decide for us our investigations and prosecutions. That will be to interfere into my independence.
What about the Attorney General?
The Attorney General will be prosecuting under her authority. That doesn't mean that she would instruct us who to prosecute and who not to prosecute.
Chairman, I'm compelled, just, Barbara, before you are done, I'm compelled to go to Act 959. And for the nominees, if you follow through the law, functions of the board is not limited to policy. It's in addition, and I'm reading C, D, E, and F. Even though F supports your position, policy matter. Advise the special prosecutor on the recruitment and selection of the secretary and other staff. Develop and monitor implementation of a code of conduct for staff of the office. And facilitate cooperation between the office and relevant national investigative bodies such as IOCO and SHRI. So beyond policy, what role will be your board? I note with satisfaction that you say you are just one strong individual, but you need the support of your board to succeed. And Chairman, once I have this floor, let me render...
No, it's not for you.
No. Just one issue. When I raised the issue of the Bulisa Way, a certain impression has been created publicly. I use it advisedly as a cultural joke, which is the case, to inspire humor into the debate, which I shared politely even with the chairman before I came on. Any person feeling offended, I regret it and I retract. I thank you. But it was used strictly in the cultural sense of a joke, of the joking relationship established within Northern Ghana and Northern culture. But to my question, your board.
Mr. Chairman, I will say that the relationship, the policies, I will leave it, but I have a different view, as I've said already, you know. But my board, as I said, all those recruitment issues and all that, if you look at policy generally, it all comes under it. And definitely we'll interview staff and all that. But the law also says that in the day-to-day performance of the functions of the special prosecutor, he will not be under the direction or control of any person. But you also look at the way you form the board, and you will see that there is a little bit of a problem there. But I think that we can still work it out. When the whole board is composed, I think we'll be able to find a working way, because this law must work. Doesn't matter what the problems are. We are human beings. It's important to fight corruption. We will not be looking at what lapses in the law there are. I am prepared to work with the board to make sure that the institution is set up. But I'm not going to allow the board to usurp my investigatory and prosecutorial functions, which have been given to me. As the article I sent out shows, I sent out on the net shows, even in the United States, the Attorney General doesn't instruct the special prosecutor. Mueller is there. But you realize that when the Attorney General tries to interfere, the nation rises up. And I'm expecting Ghanaians who are supporting this appointment to behave like the Americans are behaving. So to be our backbone when politicians want to interfere with our independence. So that's the situation. So I don't see any conflict between the board and my office. You know, I think that it is doable, it is workable, and we will go on well.
Chairman, before the Honorable Okujoto, the nominee have just stated a very important historical fact of America and Mueller. Mueller is contemporary. That's 21st century, 2016 and 17. But if Ghana was to learn, I appreciate the point you are making, that we need to learn from best practice. If you go back to Watergate scandal in 1978, between President Richard Nixon, when Nixon appointed Cox, Nixon appointed Richardson Attorney General, then subsequently Cox as Special Prosecutor. You don't think that Ghana may have to go through some experience just like the Americans did in the 70s before they improve special counsels that they have today?
Mr. Chairman, I think that we learn as a nation, we learn from other nations' experiences. As you said, Richardson was Attorney General. He appointed Cox as Special Prosecutor. In his parliamentary approval like mine, he promised Parliament that he will not fire Cox. Then Nixon directs him to fire him, so he resigns. Nixon directs his deputy to fire him, so he resigns. It was only Brock who agreed to fire Cox. And when he did that, the whole Congress was up in arms. The whole nation was up in arms. That is what brought the Ethics in Governance Act 1974 and made it impossible for the special prosecutor to be dismissed. So that lesson is there for us to learn. And I'm hoping that with an eminent constitutional lawyer as president, I mean, I should think that he should know that already. And maybe that's why he decided that I should come and do it, so that I can maybe take the bullet but say it won't be done. I don't know.
Chairman, to the nominee, President, eminent constitutional lawyer, Special Prosecutor, eminent constitutional lawyer, what is wrong with the board, as you suggested? The board. You said in your reaction, you gave us an indication. This Parliament, our committee makes recommendations. When you looked at the composition of the board, you went close to saying that, look at the board, we'll work with it. Is there something wrong that you want Parliament to take note of and to look at?
No. What I'm saying is that we will work with the board. I don't think it will be fair for me. When I meet the board the first time, I'll tell them what I think our problem is. And then we can collectively take it. I won't sit here and be talking about any lacuna in the law when they are absent. So if you bear with me, when I have met them and we have resolved the lacuna and we are moving, I will tell the public how we have managed it. But to do it here will be a little bit jumping the boat.
Very well. Did you finish asking your question? Okay. Honorable. No, you are done. Sorry, it's a 10 of the minority.
I'm most grateful, Mr. Chairman. The Honorable Martin Amidu did say earlier, when you were asked about the assignment you were given to investigate the then Social Security Bank Limited, July 1988 to September 1988. For our records, did I hear you say that you were the only person of integrity found at the time to do the work?
I didn't say that. I said I was in the Volta region. And the chairman of the PNDC was looking for the hard-nosed man. He normally, because I see things others don't see, because of my capabilities in investigation. You know what I mean? And all those who know me, whether police, commissioner, CID, DPP, who have worked with me, know that I have a knack which is God-gifted. So he was looking for the hard-nosed man, and that was me. So he gave me that additional responsibility instead of appointing somebody from Accra. At that time, my friend there was in Revenue Commission, CVC, you know. So I came and did the job, and I did it with a fear of favor. I'm not saying that I was the only honest person in the regime. Otherwise, we wouldn't have traveled that long from 82 and safely, bagged the ship on 7th January 1993. We couldn't have done that. One man, the chairman himself, had more integrity than me. That's why he was able to control the ship of state to a successful landing.
Thank you very much. I want us to come to Section 2 of the Act, the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act 2017, Act 959. There has been a lot of focus on investigation and prosecution, but there is a very important function assigned by Parliament under the object of the office. If you look at 2C, it says, take steps to prevent corruption. Because I believe that we should be interested in improving systems, making it difficult and impossible as much as possible for people to engage in corruption. We should not be scrambling around when the horses have bolted and then we are trying to prosecute people and retrieve stolen and stashed away resources. Can you share with this committee your vision, your ideas for preventing corruption as Section 2C of the Act stipulates?
Chairman, I've already said that one of our duties will be preventative, you know, and good investigation, good prosecution for once. Education also acts as a preventative function. Within security and intelligence, there are certain methods you have to put in place to curb the loopholes. I cannot discuss them until I'm approved and appointed, and that one will maybe not be known to the public, because if it's known to the public, then there will be no need putting them in place. But we will put in place mechanisms that will make the offenses we are talking about unattractive to anybody who wants to commit them. So I can assure you that indeed the preventive measure is one of the most important measures the law has given. If you can prevent it, you save the whole nation. And the nation will have to be sensitized. When we begin educating the public on what corruption is, we will see that the assumptions, the things we take for granted, are things which really are prohibited by law. And we hope that can be a beginning. And we can do something using methods which other countries have used, but which cannot be disclosed publicly.
Mr. Chairman, can we come to your critique of the Office of the Special Prosecutor Bill 2017 by Martin A.B.K. Amidu, signed on the 6th of September 2017. You have stated here, time without number, that you are a man of principle when you are being you expected that the final output, the final Office of the Special Prosecutor Act 2017 will have addressed. First, you made a point that fundamentally you do not think that this office is even needed in the first place, and that Article 88 is adequate, that we need an Attorney General of integrity. That has not happened. Secondly, you make the point that the Special Prosecutor should not be accountable to a board. But if you read Section 14.1 of the Act, which has been assented to by the President, it says the Special Prosecutor is accountable to the board in the performance of the functions under this Act. You have said that that is a bureaucratic interference with your work and your independence. You also complain about the 15 years. Yes, I want.
He will ask a question after he has recounted this. I'll allow him one question. Now, this is just his prelim. I mean, on this one.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that there are 4 major issues you raise in your critique. That the Office of the Special Prosecutor is not necessary.
So you may now ask
that the board is not necessary. You talked about the 15 years, the qualification of the Special Prosecutor being a disincentive. You thought that it was too low. But even in the Act, what has been finally approved is 12 years. Then finally, you said you are opposed to the President appointing the staff at the Office of Special Prosecutor, that the Special Prosecutor should be allowed to appoint people that he can work with. But in this Act, Section 21 of this Act, it is the President that's going to appoint this Act. And in your own words, quote, you said, this undermines the Special Prosecutor with politically minded persons, unquote. All of these are in this Act. You have been saying you are a man of principle. Why are you here? Why are you accepting this appointment with all these impediments you have complained about?
Mr. Chairman, it is not true to say that I said that without the Attorney General being allowed to prosecute the crimes, as an Office of Special Prosecutor is not necessary. I have quoted previously, if the Honorable Questioner was listening, that the moral compass and integrity of the President, and that shows that I stated clearly that this is a President who has gone to elections and won on the basis of a promise, and that it is doable. So to quote out of context is a little bit disconcerting for me, Mr. Chairman, because I have read a number of times that I have said it is doable. And I have said that when the President called me first, he said, Martin, I wish the Attorney Generals could do this, but you know that the public doesn't believe in them. So I promised to do this thing, and we have to do it. Right? I agreed with him. You get what I mean? And therefore, when he said, look at it, the board, I'm telling you that the definition of accountable and interpretation of accountable by law doesn't mean that the board is going to push you around. I've cited 2 cases in my critique, which if you read, explicates what under authority is. That's why I said it should be under the authority of the Attorney General. From the perspective of my understanding, I said that the board, the special prosecutor ought not to be accountable to a board because she's going to work under the authority of the Attorney General. The Attorney General has a legal counsel in her place, and so to impose another board over the special prosecutor, who is just going to do a prosecutorial function, will be added bureaucracy. This parliament has decided that it needs a board, right? I was giving a critique of my opinion. This parliament has decided it needs a board. It's put the board in a certain way. I have looked at it carefully. I think that it is workable. I have told you that I agree entirely that we must not throw the water away with the dirty water away with the baby. That's more fundamental to me than anything else. You know, so that is the context in which you are seeing the contradictions. But to me, as long as we can stop the leakages and seepages, which no president has tried to do before, I'll go ahead with him. That is the more fundamental principle, to stop corruption, not to postpone it. And I think that is more supreme. That is why I agreed to do it for him. And as I told you, I didn't think I'll ever accept this job. You see, I'm not bothered about the Court of Appeal judge. I was to go to the Supreme Court, not because of them. I'm doing this job for the love of making sure the people of this country have a better deal and stop the political elite and establishment from siphoning the money of this country abroad. That's why I'm here.
Sami, yes. Chairman, did I just hear the nominee say no president, no president? Are you suggesting that there's been no attempt or effort by any president to fight corruption in this country?
I don't know the context in which you are quoting me. No president has passed the Special Prosecutors Act. That's what I mean. And if there is one, show me.
Mr. Chairman, I will be moving to my last but one question now. I just thought that the Honorable Martin Amidu will have used his leverage with the President to help us have a more biting and stronger office of the Special Prosecutor Act in line with his own critique. But I will move on. If you can please come with me to Article 296 of the Constitution of Ghana. It reads, where in this Constitution or in any other law discretionary power is vested in any person or authority, A, that discretionary power shall be deemed to imply a duty to be fair and candid. A duty to be fair and candid, emphasis mine. B, the exercise of the discretionary power shall not be arbitrary, capricious, or biased, either by resentment, prejudice, or personal dislike, and shall be in accordance with due process of law, unquote. Mr. Chairman, I have a number of articles that the honorable nominee has authored. I have here the 8 December 2016 congratulatory message to President-elect Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. In the second paragraph, you write, quote, changing a government under which the mass of ordinary people were unnecessarily and needlessly burdened over the years under the yoke of massive and pervasive corruption, deliberate oligarchic mismanagement of abundant natural resources, party, political, and ethnic cronyism, and abject ineptitude peacefully through the ballot box is a feat worthy of emulation by other citizens of the West African subcontinent, in particular Africa in general. Then there is this second article dated 1st August 2017 under the caption, Yao Donko's whining is karma for abuse of the Constitution as a public officer by Martin A.B.K. Amidu. If I'll quote your last paragraph, you write, I have no tears for your egg. Stop whining for the respectful treatment from the police when you refuse to grant your fellow citizens similar respect when you had the opportunity to serve our motherland, Ghana. Yao. But in these cases, we still have judgment here, karma. And I've gone through this 4-page article. You appear to be gloating at the woes of Mr. Yao Donko, the former National Security Coordinator. If I'll quote from the last article I have here, just because of time, the 9th January 2017 article under the caption, the 7th Parliament must restore the confidence of citizens in the honor and integrity of the legislature by Martin A.B.K. Amidu. You wrote, and I quote, unlike previous elections in the annals of our history, the pivotal and critical issues were between electing a corrupt, bankrupt, inept, incompetent, abusive, impudent, and looter incumbent government, and electing one of the contesting candidates dedicated to fighting all these unconstitutional, capricious evils and protecting the national purse. The massive trashing of the incumbent looter government of John Dramani Mahama, may God never give Ghana a corrupt and looter president like him again, unquote. These are your words. Article 296 talks about being fair, being candid, not being driven by resentment. I see a lot of resentment in your articles. Can you, in all true conscience, tell the people of this country and this committee that you are not biased, you are not capricious, and you are not out to do a hatchet job for someone, as some sections of the society believe?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I've been called gloating, which normally I would not accept from anybody, but he has a privilege against another citizen, and he chooses to use those epithets on him. That's okay. Let me say that I have no leverage whatsoever over President Akufo-Addo. I never met him since we stopped going to court. I've never met him or spoken to him. The only day I saw him was when he came to swear in the Chief Justice, the new Chief Justice. He was going around greeting lawyers, and he shook my hand. Amidu, how are you? Fine. And he passed. The next time I met him was when he invited me to give me this nomination. I have not seen him since then. I have not spoken to him. So I have no leverage. The impression being created is erroneous, and it ought not to be peddled. You see, there is no evidence to support this statement you've made. I have stated that as a constitutional defense advocate, I fight for the people of Ghana using all the arsenals at my disposal. But you see, the questions you have asked me have failed to tell the other side of the story. The articles I have written against the MPP government and the Speaker, including the Honorable Chairman of the committee, when Honorable Mama Ayara got the problems, the things I wrote about him, which was in favor of the NDC, you've gloated over it. When I asked whether the Speaker was the enforcer of the law, you've gloated over it. You know, I've written things against all the political divides in defense of the Constitution. So if I'm going to be, you are saying that because I've written against the pond, a crocodile from the pond in which I come from, I cannot be impartial. What of those in the pond I don't come from? I am saying that the position of special prosecutor is a prosecutorial position, and I stopped practicing law and was doing constitutional defense. Now I'm going back to the practice of law. I will live by the ethics of the legal profession and the code of conduct of the Constitution. And I know better the discretion of the prosecutor because I've practiced it as Deputy Attorney General for upwards of 12 years. And I was Attorney General for 1 year. Who else in this country will know it better than me? I'm the longest serving Deputy Attorney General. So I know what it means to be in power. I'm telling you, the fraternity of law is not a sleeping fraternity. That's going to close his eyes to Martin Amidu taking victims for his own personal aggrandizement. They are there as watchdogs. And I've lectured on ethics to law students, and I've told them, watch out. Any lawyer who does that is not worth the name. I'm not going to be a special prosecutor who will go into history as being vindictive. I will not.
Sorry, Sammy, you're done.
No, this is my last question now. No, that was the agreement, that this will be my last question. I'm grateful, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, my final question comes from the book authored by Dr. Obadiah Asamoah, and the Honorable nominee just talked about the many years he's been Attorney General. For many years, he was the deputy to the venerable and respected Dr. Obadiah Asamoah. In this widely acclaimed and fascinating book titled The Political History of Ghana, 1950 to 2013, The Experience of a Nonconformist, on page 465, Dr. Yao Obadiah Asamoah had this to say about you. Page 465. 465. Dr. Obadiah Asamoah said, quote, "In the end, Professor Mills chose as his running mate, my deputy, at the Ministry of Justice, Martin Amidu, in a surprise and unproductive move," unquote. Surprise and unproductive move. In the next paragraph, he writes, "In my mind, I did not think that Martin Amidu would be beneficial to the ticket," unquote. I'm sure that you are aware of this publication. This was your boss for many years. You've talked about us checking with the people you have worked with to vouch for your credibility and your hard work and impartiality, which I am not saying is in doubt at this point. But how do you respond to your boss passing such a damning verdict on your selection as running mate of then candidate Mills?
Mr. Chairman, in the first place, Dr. Asamoah is not my boss.
Honorable Oni, hold on. If you wish to answer, fine. But I would have...
Let me answer him.
Very well.
Dr. Asamoah is not my boss. He did not pay my fees through law school. He was called to the bar. I was called to the bar. He didn't appoint me Deputy Attorney General. I was appointed Deputy Attorney General before he came there. And I served under Akins, Nanatano. Mr. Forson came for 6 months before he was asked to act, right? And we are colleagues. And therefore, I knew my place and worked with him. That doesn't make him my boss. You see, so you are reading a self-serving book in which he wanted to be the vice presidential candidate. He was bypassed. The candidate saw in his deputy more competence, right, and excellence than him. Then he writes a book, and he writes this thing, and you are coming to read it to the whole public. I've never read that book. I've heard about it. But see, you have raised it in public. You see, you are reading a self-serving statement when your own presidential candidate and later president saw me as a more preferred candidate than him. And in any case, the law reports demonstrate that while he was doing that, I was going to court. He didn't train me. So don't, and if you say he is erotic, well, that's your comment. But you see, I regret that you've brought his book and you want to knock my head against his. In his recent interview to MFA Apau, he described me as a person of honesty. You see, but you see, you people, you will collapse your old people by reading these things, then I'll react this way. Dr. Sabwa calls me. Dr. Sabwa calls me, even when I was Attorney General, and even when he was accused, he called me to find out, Amidu, did it happen? And then I told him it didn't happen. So I'm on good terms with him. So if because of vetting we are doing this, I don't think it's good. You know, I would have let the question pass, but the public will understand it otherwise. Indeed, Professor, he and my senior brother, Elijah Mamedus, were looking for it. And then when Prof gave it to me, I told him, I will not accept a position which my senior brother was looking for unless he gives his blessing. I asked him first, have you told Dr. Sama? He said, yes. He's supposed to have been with me here to announce it to you. But he said, I can go ahead. I asked him, did you tell Elijah Mama Edusu? He said, no. I said, that's my senior brother. I can't take a position he was looking for. So if you want, after he persuaded me, I said, well, then you have to seek Elijah's concurrence. I was driving myself. I drove to Elijah's house, pointed to his house. Prof went and saw him, asked Elijah, he's alive, he's not dead, before I accepted the position. So my customary behavior with elders is special. And I wouldn't have liked to talk about Dr. Samuel. You've put temptation in my path. Unfortunately, unlike Justice Philip Acha, I took it. But I'm sorry to make those comments about him.
Chairman, I'm only doing my job. Thank you very much.
Honorable Ogudeto, you're done, please. And I can't say, I mean, I would have wished that we didn't go there, but I think we would. I'll take a touch here, and then we'll break for lunch, because we can continue, but the candidate needs a break to stretch his legs, and so we will take a touch here, and then we'll break for lunch and come back. So please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good job. And I'm grateful for this opportunity. Most learned senior, this session, I'm amazed at your energies, your high level of energies, and the fact that even you are not drinking water. And I'll just ask just 3 questions and leave you. It will be short. Yeah, Senior, if you pay regard to the long title of Act 959, Mr. Chairman, if I have your permission, I'd like to quote it. An act to establish the office of the Special Prosecutor as a specialized agency to investigate specific cases of alleged or suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses involving public officers and politically exposed persons in the performance of their functions, as well as persons in the private sector involved in the commission of the alleged or suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses. Prosecute these offenses on the authority of the Attorney General and provide for related matters. Nominee, my chief concern is the suspected corruption. And because of you've been given powers to investigate, my concern is this, that because you are also supposed to look at suspected corruption or alleged corruption, the office could be so inundated with these allegations. And because sometimes you could be politically motivated to the point that you trying to sift the wheat from the chaff will take all your energies and will have no time to do the actual job. Do you envisage a situation in which there's an overload of cases of suspected corruption, and then before you finish all of them, I mean, you don't even have the space to do the real job?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The person who complains has to adduce credible evidence. So if you come to make a complaint, the act shows how a complaint will be made. I am sure there will be an office which will establish when the institution comes into being. So there will be a location where you go and make a formal complaint, or if you send a letter, there's an officer who will take it and who may invite you and initiate the investigations. But honorable member will agree with me that even in the criminal code, the police investigate reasonable suspicion of commission of offenses. And that's the context in which I will look at this. If you just write a letter which is not reasonable, it will be a waste of resources to try to investigate it. So anybody writing a letter should write a letter which is credible and therefore can lead to investigations. I mean, it's not, we are not going to be a rumor mill. If I am approved, collecting rumors. And I think that we can sift them. And since we will have investigators and prosecutors who may do the bulk of the work, and we will be supervising, I am believing that we will do our best to handle it. Of course, at the beginning, people may inundate us, but as time goes on, when they see the parameters within which we work, they may stop doing that.
I'm grateful for your answer. Sifting the wheat from the chaff is a real job. Now, let me ask you this question. If you pay regard to the remit of the law, can you envisage a situation in which a case commenced by you could be frustrated by a nolle prosequi from the Attorney General? Oh, Senior.
I don't know.
Chairman, I think I don't think you should answer. Can he envisage? That's hypothetical, please. Our rules do not permit hypothetical and opinion. You're such a senior lawyer that I know you can frame your question.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful. If you look at the spirit and tenor of Office of the Special Prosecutor Act, 2017 Act 959, is there a space in the law in which prosecutions from your outfit could be interfered with through nolle prosequis from the Attorney General? Senior, is it a fair question?
I think that in all sincerity, the Attorney General is normally a lawyer of good standing. And speaking as a lawyer, I don't see the situation where any Attorney General will enter a nolle prosequi in a case being prosecuted by an independent special prosecutor without the knowledge of that fellow. That's why there must be a working relationship that avoids it. And I don't think that will happen. I don't foresee it. In any case, that is why the President Trump has been said he wants to dismiss Mueller. He's been on the news, but he is finding it almost impossible because of the public reaction that will happen. And I believe anybody who wants to bypass the special prosecutor to do something will think about public opinion. And I don't even think that the Attorney General will do that without consultation. I can't foresee it because it's not done among lawyers. Lawyers who are lawyers.
Chairman, are there lawyers who are carpenters?
There are lawyers who are not lawyers. Yes, I don't know about that. Yeah.
Yes, Leonard Senior, I think you are very prolific when it comes to writing of articles. And I also make reference to an article you posted on the net dated the 17th of November 2013. And you could feel the fire of the article that some dubious payments were made to Waterville, which made Ghana poorer by 25 million euros. And then Isophoton, which emptied our coffers in the huge sum of United States dollars, 325 million. And I got the impression that in the article, the Woyomo case seems to have dwarfed the publicity of these two serious cases. Do you see Waterville and Isophoton payments having criminal dimensions
And if your answer is yes, and when you are approved, will these cases be uppermost in your list of cases you want to prosecute?
Not a question, Mr. Chairman, I can answer. I dealt with these cases a very long time ago. And unless I refresh my memory fully on them, I don't want to commit myself to anything. In any case, those cases have been pending for a very long time. And I believe if it's been looked at, they'll be looked at. I don't think that they may necessarily have to be the special prosecutor's baby, even though if there are issues of corruption and a proper complaint is made, they'll be looked at. But that, it doesn't follow that if they don't meet the prosecutorial standard, we'll do anything about them.
Thank you, honourable members. We will suspend sitting for 1 hour. Let's 4 o'clock exactly. Whoever is here, I will start. 4 o'clock exactly. Whoever is here, I will start.
Fascinating first part of this vetting that just ended with Martin Amidu being, vetted by the House. A number of things that we have to unpack for you if you stay with us here on Joy 99.7 FM, also on the JoyNews channel. We'll be going live to Parliament House, getting reactions of this first part. There are a number of things we need to be checking. Some things have been said that we need to check. For example, has he withdrawn his membership of the NDC? We'll check with the party about that. He didn't quite give us a straight answer to that. But he says something about other people that needs checking. For example, his comments about Beda Samwa. We've spoken to Beda Samwa, and he referenced that interview that we did. And so, is he an accurate account of what happened? Plus, he also gives us details about circumstances surrounding his dismissal when he was Attorney General. He's disputed that he was sacked for insubordination. Well, all that we'll be checking very shortly. Plus, he's assured that he's not going to be vindictive. He won't witch hunt. Is the NDC happy with that assurance? Want to stay with us here on Joy 99.7 FM, also on the JoyNews channel. Gifty Andra is up next. He will be taking the baton with the analysis shortly. Elton John Brobe is in Parliament with Latif Idris, and will be coming to us with the reactions from Parliament. And listen, we have our correspondents working the phone lines to get the reactions to all that you've heard so far. Stay with us here on the JoyNews channel, also on Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Evan Spencer.